and that is the resumption of bilateral cooperation to combat illicit drug manufacturing and trafficking, including, most significantly from our standpoint, fentanyl, the establishment of a working group for ongoing communication and law enforcement coordination. We have seen China take 4 important steps in this regard. Number one, they are issuing a notice to their domestic industry advising on the enforcement of laws and regulations related to the trade in precursor chemicals and pill presses, something that we think is very important. They did a similar notice in 2019, and it led to a drastic reduction in the seizure of fentanyl shipments to the United States. They have begun taking law enforcement actions against Chinese synthetic drugs and chemical precursors. As a result, there are PRC-based pharmaceutical companies that have already ceased operations, others that have had international payment accounts blocked. At the beginning of this month, for the first time in nearly 3 years, the PRC started resubmitting incidents to the International Narcotics Control Board's global database, which is used to share real-time information internationally about suspicious shipments and suspected trafficking, which is important to let global law enforcement, including U.S. law enforcement, take action against the shipment of precursor chemicals. And then fourth, as I said, we've relaunched this working group so our policy and technical experts can discuss law enforcement efforts and exchange information. So we think those were incredibly important steps. In fact, yesterday, the president himself underscored the universality of human rights and the responsibility of all nations to respect their international human rights obligations. He raised specific concerns about human rights practices in PRC with President Xi. We've taken a number of actions since the outset of this administration related to human rights practices in China, and we will continue to do so. I think our record is very clear. But when you look at the decision we had to make, we ultimately decided that the listing of the IFS on this Commerce Entity List was a barrier to taking action that would save thousands and thousands of American lives. And so we have to make tough decisions in this administration, and the decision that we've made was that when you looked at the potential of saving American lives by securing this cooperation with China on fentanyl trafficking, it was an appropriate step to take. Now, it's not the end of the story. We're going to watch how China complies with the commitments that they made to us. We're going to continue to talk with them about other steps that they can take, and we will continue to hold them accountable for their human rights record.